Imagine you could read a book and you could remember everything that the book taught you. Now, my name is Luca, and I've literally spent hundreds of hours, maybe even thousands of hours, watching YouTube videos, books, reading books, like watching courses to learn how to actually like learn effectively. Um, I developed a framework called the BDA method. That's what I call it. And basically, the BDA method is done before, during, and after. So before you want to read the book, what I personally do is I try and find a summary of the book that I'm reading to basically understand the core of the book. I try and understand the skeleton before I add the skin to it, basically. Um, this is famous among a lot of people. For example, Elon Musk does the exact same. When Elon Musk is trying to learn something, he first tries to understand why it's so powerful. Like first tries to understand basically the basics of the tree before he adds the leaves of the tree, if that makes sense. I think we should do the same as well. If it works for Elon Musk, I mean, it probably would work for us as well, right? So that's the first thing. Before you read a book, make sure to find just a quick summary, like a 5 minute summary on like Google or ChatGPT or something like that, and read that first. Because another reason this is so powerful is because when you're actually reading the book, now you can kind of use this as a guide. You can use this as a roadmap to see if like what is working, what do I want to read, what are parts that I don't really care about reading, and all that shit, right? Now, another thing that you actually want to do before you read the book is you need to have a goal in mind. Because what I realized about flow state is that when you have a goal in mind, everything else basically disappears. It's like you're only focused on this one single thing. So if there's any distraction, you just stop focusing on it because you want to focus on this specific goal. So I actually think it's the same with reading. If you have this specific goal in your mind of like, I want to learn this specific thing, or I want to know more about this, or I just want to learn in general, that could be your goal as well. Then like I just want to learn to make money, for example, then everything else kind of disappears basically. And that's powerful, bro. So then you have the D, which basically stands for during. So during, like when you're reading the book, I always used to do like these speed reading, and I used to underline shit, and I used to take notes in my book, and I used to fold pages and all those kinds of things, right? But I realized that none of these things actually really worked. They weren't effective. I really didn't like them. For example, the underlining, it's like, and the folding. I never came back to reading it. So why the fuck would I underline and fold shit if I would never come back to it? So the same with like taking notes. Like it didn't help me. I don't know. It just felt weird to write in a book. Mm. So I stopped doing that as well. And then the speed reading, it just felt like I couldn't remember shit. So what I'm doing right now is I have a book and I have a notepad. I like have a notebook with me so that I can basically write shit in. Mm. What I do right now is I speed read most of the book. Then I skip things that I just think that are not valuable to me. Um, I slowly read the parts that I think are very important and like interesting and things that I actually want to read. So I think it's like a myth that a lot of people have is that you need to read a book from start to finish, but this is not true. of course, you can read a book from start to finish if it's like a good book. I mean, why wouldn't you read it from start to finish, right? But I think that because of the school system and all that stuff, we're kind of like convinced that we need to read a book from start to finish, and this is not true, bro. You don't need to read a book from start to finish. So yeah, bro, just take notes on things that you think are important, that you think you can actually use in your day-to-day life, and then the most important part is actually the part after you read the book, because now you're going to use those notes and put them into action, right? So what you do after you read the book is you look through your notes, of course. You ask yourself, do I agree with the information that the author tells, or do I disagree? And if I disagree, because there's probably parts that you might disagree with a little bit, or I don't know, something like that, then you need to ask yourself, what would the author say about it? Why do I disagree with it? Where did my belief come from? And you kind of start the debate in your mind. So if you've seen this pyramid about learning, is like when you just read a book, I think you remember like 10%, maybe 5%. When you debate something, even if it's with yourself, you remember 50%. Now, you also probably want to make something like a summary, or I don't know, something like that, right? About what you just read. But the most powerful thing that I personally do is I teach it to people. Now, or not to people, I teach the things to myself. I ask myself, how would I teach this? How would I teach the concept that the author just told me? Because based on the pyramid of learning states that when you learn, or sorry, when you teach, teaching is the most effective way to learn, basically. When you teach, you remember 90%. So there's this quote that also said, like, when two teachers, one learns. The teacher learns probably more than the student. That's fucking crazy, right? Now, another way to learn is to put things into action, right? So another question that I want you to ask yourself is, how can you put this shit into action? How can you put the things that you learn into action? And put it into action, bro. Like, it's not even hard. It's like, when you put things into action, you remember 75%. So if you combine these three things, it's like a trident. I think you call it a trident, right? Bro, if you combine these three things, you put into action what you learn, you discuss it even with yourself, and you teach it to yourself, or like you make a video or you write a post about what you just learned, even if it's only for yourself. I guarantee you, bro, you're going to remember at least like 98% of what the book taught you. But the problem is that you probably might be coping a little bit, or you're like, nah, I don't want to read this, or I don't want to do this, it's not worth my time, or any of that bullshit, right? So yeah, bro, I think this is one of the most valuable tools that I've learned. And I've only been using it recently, and it's so fucking powerful, bro. So I'm very grateful that you watched to the end of this video, because I know that if you put this into action, you're going to be so much more knowledgeable than people that are just reading books for the sake of reading it. Now, another way that you can remember this information more is, of course, to visit your notes more often. It's been shown that the more you read your notes, the more likely you are to remember and remain the information. So yeah, bro, that's powerful as well. If you happen to be a coach, like a lifestyle coach or self-improvement coach, whatever the fuck you want to call it, you want to monetize your business, I've got a link to book a call below. Just book a call with me here. We will see like how we'll basically come up with a game plan on how I can monetize your business, and I can see if I can help you monetize your business. So yeah, bro, that's fucking powerful. I'll see you in the next video.